Shakespeare's play, The Merchant of Venice, has attracted controversy over the centuries the way that a lightning rod attracts lightning. This is because Shylock is a Jew surrounded by Christians in Venice and locked in a life-or-death struggle. Some readers praise The Merchant of Venice as one of Shakespeare's finest plays, offering exquisite poetry and profound reasoning, while other readers condemn it as naked anti-Semitism. Yet, whichever way one views the drama, it endures as a stimulating work because it so successfully gets at the heart of one of humanity's elemental dilemmas. Derek Cohen asserts, The Merchant of Venice seems to me a profoundly and crudely anti-Semitic play. Critic E. E. Stoll agrees that it is anti-Semitic, but views Shylock as a clownish character in the Renaissance tradition of stereotypes that are both hissed at and laughed at. Shylock is the villain, a comic villain though, or butt of jokes. Other critics, such as Charles Cowden Clarke, argue that the drama is not anti-Semitic. The poet, in delineating the character and conduct of Shylock, as well as of his Christian opponents, has, with his large wisdom, preached a homily upon injustice to each sect. Paul Green, a professor of literature and a Jew, believes that Shakespeare undercuts the anti-Jewish statements in the play by putting the most offensive statements in the mouths of crude characters, in whom the audience has little trust. Therefore, the ultimate impression of the play undercuts anti-Semitism. The poet's works are interpreted anew by each generation. Thus, over the years, actors have portrayed the roles of Shylock and his daughter Jessica, Antonio, and Portia in a variety of ways. Charles Macklin in the 1700s played Shylock dressed as a Jewish stereotype, whereas Sir Henry Irving in the Victorian era presented a very human and much wrong Shylock. If one production of the play presents a snarling Shylock, while another production offers a persuasive and dignified Shylock, the audiences will be left with very different impressions of the character. One reason why critics and audiences are divided about Shylock's true nature is that the playwright shows us two very different sides of the character. His hard business side that he shows to the world, and his softer, sentimental side that is reserved for those people who are close to him. Two gemstones that Shakespeare associates with Shylock, the hard diamond and the soft turquoise, can be seen as representing these two sides of the moneylender. Shakespeare added the diamond and the turquoise to the story. No gemstones are mentioned in the chief source for this play, the first story of the Dunce by Fiorentino. Yet, Shakespeare's addition seems quite natural in light of the traditional connection between Jews and gemstones. Over the centuries, a great number of Jews have been jewelers and gem merchants. One reason for this connection with gemstones is that in the past, many European countries had laws that barred aliens from owning land. Therefore, successful Jews often invested in precious stones instead. Shylock mentions that the diamond cost him 2,000 ducats in Frankfurt. These specific details make the play more realistic and add color to Shylock's character as a Jew. Because Shylock knows the worth of his diamond, he is naturally outraged when he learns that his daughter Jessica has squandered it. Why, there, a diamond gone. Cost me 2,000 ducats in Frankfurt. The curse never fell upon our nation till now. I never felt it till now. The loss of the second gem, the turquoise, is just as upsetting to Shylock. Tubal's news that Jessica traded Shylock's turquoise ring for a monkey stabbed Shylock to the heart. And because the audience sees the man's pain, the audience believes his passion for revenge. Shakespeare's probable source, the Dunce, does not give the Jew a motive for wanting a pound of flesh. This psychological weakness in the story Shakespeare had to correct in order to make the plot more plausible. The loss of the jewels, the ducats, and the daughter, in addition to past conflicts with Antonio, give Shylock a very strong motive. This passage juxtaposes Shylock's sorrow at his own losses, emphasized by the loss of the two stones, with his joy at Antonio's losses later on, which creates a singular, dramatic effect. Shylock treasures the turquoise highly. When Tubal tells Shylock that one of Antonio's creditors showed Tubal a ring that he had received from Jessica in exchange for a monkey, Shylock declaims, "Out upon her! Thou torturest me, Tubal. It was my turquoise. I had it of Leah when I was a bachelor. I would not have given it for a wilderness of monkeys. One possibility is that Shylock treasures the ring for its sentimental value. Since his beloved and departed wife gave him the ring when he was courting her, it reminds him of her and of those youthful days. This view shows a softer, more human side of Shylock. It indicates that he is not merely a materialist who values objects because of their monetary worth. Elsie Knight comments, Shakespeare here, with marvelous art, shows us the betrayed and persecuted Shylock at a moment when he is raving at the desertion of his daughter and panting for wild revenge, as looking back upon the days when the fierce passions had probably no place in his heart. The diamond and turquoise, deliberately placed together by Shakespeare in this scene, are contrasting stones and represent contrasting sides of Shylock's nature. The diamond is the hardest of gemstones. It is clear, and it is valued for its monetary worth. Whereas the turquoise is much softer. It is multicolored, even muddled, and it is not as costly as most gemstones. These different stones represent the hard, public, materialistic side of Shylock in contrast to the soft, private, sentimental side of him. One side balances the other in this scene to portray a complex man. The stones also help to illuminate Shylock's alienation from his daughter. Although Shylock loves Jessica as much as his possessions at the beginning of the play, he gradually is alienated by her betrayals. When he discovers that she has squandered his cherished diamond and turquoise, his alienation progresses one step further. In this way, Shakespeare shows the vulnerable side of this very human Jewish character and connects this side to the hard, public side that cries for revenge. Playwrights naturally try to capitalize on the scandals of the day in order to sell tickets, and Shakespeare, possessing a practical sense of business, used this method too. The big scandal of 1594 was the allegation that Dr. Rodrigo Lopez, one of Queen Elizabeth's personal physicians, had plotted to poison her. Lopez was from a Portuguese Jewish family, although he had converted to Christianity. The Earl of Essex, who had a personal grudge against Lopez, lodged the accusation against him, and following a trial, Lopez was found guilty. The doctor, who is probably innocent, was given the gruesome sentence to be hanged, drawn, and quartered. Shakespeare completed The Merchant of Venice before 1598, while the scandal was still fresh in the public's memory, and anti-Jewish feelings were common. Of course, some Jews were deeply offended by the ending when Shylock is forced to renounce his faith and convert to Christianity. Harold Bloom ponders, of all the enigmas presented by The Merchant of Venice, to me the most baffling is Shylock's broken acceptance of forced conversion. Is it persuasive? Surely not. In America, where freedom of religion is one of our most cherished rights, this ending is deeply offensive. However, in Elizabethan England, there was no separation of church and state. A good Englishman was a member of the Church of England. Thus, Catholics and Quakers, let alone Jews or Muslims, were looked upon with disfavor. Most of Shakespeare's audience would have seen Shylock's conversion as making him a better citizen. Moreover, within the Christian framework of the play, the only path to eternal salvation is through accepting Jesus as the Savior. So forcing a person to convert is actually doing him an immense favor. From this point of view, the ending is intended to be merciful, unlike many of the stories about Jews that were popular in Shakespeare's day. Consider the bloody endings in Marlowe's The Jew of Malta or Chaucer's The Nun's Tale. Shakespeare made a deliberate choice not to follow the usual outcome for the Jew. Even though some readers will see The Merchant of Venice as an anti-Semitic play, students and adults should still read it because people need to understand anti-Semitism and how it works in order to recognize it and to respond to it appropriately. This play serves as a valuable case study of prejudice between religious groups. Yet, it might be advisable for Jewish readers to distance themselves from Shylock emotionally rather than to identify with him. He is merely a fictional character, after all, and not a real person. Nor is his conduct typical of Jews. When he plots Antonio's death and tries to carry it out, we see behavior that is not typical of any ethnic group. Furthermore, the conflict in the play can be seen as a more general conflict than just one between Jews and Christians. Shylock can represent all outsiders resisting society's pressure to conform. Society, in the form of neighbors, business associates, magistrates, and political leaders, pressures the individual to give up peculiar beliefs and practices in order to conform to accepted modes of dressing, speaking, and working. Therefore, Shylock, being a moneylender, is castigated by Antonio, another businessman, who loans money without interest. To the Elizabethan audience, Shylock's profession is a significant part of his coloring as a villain. He is seen as preying upon others. Historically, moneylending, being one of the few professions Jews could practice under the laws governing aliens, was commonly a Jewish profession. At the end of the play, how does the author want us to view the character? We can never be completely sure, yet some basic points are clear. 1. Shakespeare did not intend for the audience to condemn Shylock simply due to his Jewish identity. Shylock's statements and schemes are what really color his character. Therefore, 2. Shylock is not an innocent victim who we are meant to pity. And 3. In the struggle between the outsider and society, this play sides with society.